Hey guys, Tan here. Today we got a special thing to show you. I'd like to thank ASUS for giving us this whole new motherboard. This is ASUS TUF line, a new X570-PLUS Wi-Fi gaming motherboard. Paul and I would like to give you a walkthrough and explanation of what this motherboard is about. So this motherboard, as of July 2019, retails for under 400 Sing dollars. Now I'd like to walk you through what's inside this motherboard. Let's begin. You must have the motherboard, of course. It comes with two 6GB SATA cables. One of them here with the antenna. The second one, the I/O shield. Remember to put this before you plug in your motherboard. This is for the M.2 screws. The manual, in case you don't know what's going on the motherboard. The drive, I recommend you download the drivers from ASUS itself. Gift cards. I can't show you the code, of course. Certification of tough tells you how tough your motherboard is. And last thing, stickers to make your case and motherboard look pretty. So now I'd like to invite Gordon to give a special rundown of what he thinks about this motherboard. So Gordon, on first sight, what do you like or not like about this motherboard?
Well, there are a lot of things to like about this board. It being one of the more mid-end X570 motherboards. Basically speaking from the perspective of somebody who builds systems professionally for a living. There are quite a bit of plus. There are also quite a bit of things that I wish that they didn't. So I'll run through the features of this board. I won't really go through into the different features that you can always refer to the specifications in the link right below. What I will just discuss more is what I think is good of this board. I think is not so good and how it can be improved. I'll go through the pros first. Number one, I feel for motherboard in this price range, overall it's a pretty good board. You get two normal RGB headers for pin 12 volts. You have the addressable RGB header right over here, 5 volts, 3 pin. As well as the heat sinks on the VRMs are pretty solid. They look pretty chunky. How they'll perform, we'll get to that later. Okay, other parts of the board which I kind of like, there's no shortage of fan headers, the CPU fan header as well as the CPU optional fan headers. Why you have an optional fan header? This is for those air coolers with dual fans or 240mm AIOs when actually control two separate fans. And following which you have the additional fan headers here. One is for the chassis fan, this goes to the fan at the back. You have a pump header which is used by some AIOs which throw the pump speed. And you have two more right down here. That's a good point for this board, is you have no shortage of fan headers for your various chassis fans, AIOs, that kind of thing. Come down to the IOs that there are 8 SATA connections. That's very good. You have no shortage of SATA connection to take advantage of. And considering that a lot of chassis nowadays don't really take more than 2 or 3 3.5 inch drives, more than enough for anybody's needs. We have one USB 3 connection right over here. One of the things I wish they had done is probably put a second one, but I'm guessing in this price range, it was probably one of the constraints they had to work with. If you're going to buy one of those chassis with 4x USB 3 to the front, you may run into an issue because you're probably going to need a separate USB 3 controller card. But if your chassis is one of those with only 2 USB headers in front, then you're fine. Following which you have 2x USB 2, again, more than enough. A lot of casing. You have USB 2 in the front, is probably only 2 at the most. You have the serial port header, that's always good for legacy applications and devices. We come to the PCIe slots itself. This is PCIe 4.0x16. This one, however, is rated for only PCIe 4.0x4. If you're planning to go dual GPU, I would suggest you probably look a little bit higher in the ASUS X570 range, because the way these two slots are configured, you're practically limited to one GPU. I mean, you could probably use this for any other PCIe device like a sound card, a LAN card, a video capture card, but for something that requires a lot of bandwidth like a GPU, it's not really advisable for you to use this slot. We come to the two M.2 slots. This is where you can see there's been some compromise to keep this board below SGD 400. One of which is that there are two M.2 slots here, but only one of which is covered with an M.2 heat shield. So the second slot, if you're going to put an SSD, you're either going to be stuck without a heatsink, or you have to get your own heatsink for that SSD, or you use the heatsink that comes with that particular SSD. Finally, we come to the I/O behind. Right, as you can see down here, we have quite a fair bit of I/O. Again, there have been compromises here. One of which is that in a lot of the ASUS X570 higher range boards, like a plate here will be part of the structure here. But in this case, as you saw in the unboxing video just now, there is still an I/O plate. For this board, you have to be careful to remember to put the I/O shield there before this board goes in. Otherwise, you're going to end up with the classic situation of you put everything into the case and you're like, oh crap, I forgot to put the I/O shield. everything else. One thing you have to keep in mind. Other than that, the I/O is pretty well featured. You have 4 USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports over here, the ones rated in blue. You have a PS2 port. If you have some legacy PS2 keyboard or other devices, this is always a good thing to have. For USB 3.2 Gen 2, you have 3 ports. 2 of them are Type A, and one of them is Type C right over here. You have your LAN port, you have your Intel AC1730 Wi-Fi plus Bluetooth, and HDMI plus the display port in case you use an APU on this motherboard. Although, judging at the price point that this motherboard is, not really likely you're going to use 3200 or 3400G with this board, but it's good to have those in case you do. And you have 5.1 sound right over here. My impressions of this board overall is, while it has to cut some corners to fit in that price range, the corners that it's had to cut are pretty minor. This is based on what I can see from the board without turning it on. So how does that opinion hold up when you see this guy in action? We'll get to that part. Now we're going to come to the power on test for this motherboard. So let me take you through as to what kind of parts we're going to be using for test itself. On the right down here, I have the Corsair RM850 watt power supply. The RAM, I have 16 gigs of G.Skill Trident Z RGB, 3200 MHz RAM, CL16. And for the CPU itself, I have the AMD Ryzen 5 3600 Non-X. As for the cooler sitting on top of it, you're probably wondering, this is a Ryzen 5. Why is there a Rift Prism sitting here? It's mainly because we at Typhoon System, we do a lot of Ryzen 7 systems, and we have a lot of these guys in the storeroom. For the purpose of this test, let's bring it out. Also, it tests the one part of the software suite. We'll get to that later. The GPU itself, we have MSI Radeon RX 5700 XT reference design, and for storage, we have the Corsair MP600 1TB PCIe 4.0 SSD. One of the main points that you're gonna buy an X570 motherboard for is to take advantage of PCIe 4.0. So that's why this particular SSD is here. If you're gonna use an X570 motherboard, I go with PCIe 3.0. It's like buying a Ferrari and sticking on tires from Toyota Corolla. We'll get right onto the test itself, but first off, I would like to point out to you guys part that I really like about it. I'm going to power cycle the board itself, and you'll see one aspect I really like about this board. Okay, I'm going to turn off the power, and then I'm going to power it back on. You see there's 4 rows of diagnostics LED. That's the orange light, that's for the DRAM, followed by the CPU initialization, that's blue. Then you've got white for VGA, and last but not least, you have green for the boot device itself. You may be wondering, what's the fuss over 4 little LEDs? These 4 LEDs are diagnostic LEDs. They come in pretty handy when you're putting together a set and the set doesn't quite power on and you're trying to figure out what is going on. Is it my RAM? I have a DUT4 CPU on functional graphic card. What is causing my set not to power on as per normal? These lights are invaluable when it comes to troubleshooting. And these lights shouldn't really be taken for granted because there's a lot of motherboards that don't have these lights, especially from ASUS. ASUS X470 Prime, I'm looking at you. For the price that Guy Command doesn't have these lights. We'll move right along how this guy's BIOS looks like.
In part 2 of this ASUS TUF X570 motherboard walkthrough and review. Be sure to check out part 2, which is coming real soon. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and give me comments in the comment section below. I'll try my best to reply to all of you. In the meantime, you can check out my latest video or check out my other tech videos in the tech playlist. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and click on the eye icon to know when I put out new videos. Remember time, our part 2 is coming soon.